We're good to go. We're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome in.
Hello.
My name's Colin Keenan. I'm joined by...
I'm Maurika Smutherman.
And what are we doing today, Maurika?
So today we're going to be recreating movie shots with 3D scanning, and we're going to start with a scene from Beetlejuice. So I think it's going to be really fun and entertaining, and you'll also learn a lot about Blender, also about 3D scanning. So if you joined our last live, which you can check out on the channel if you did not see it, we did 3D scanning of a sneaker. So we kind of showed how to actually 3D scan using an app and an iPad. So two things that you can procure from the NC State libraries. And today we're going to be doing that, but we're taking it a step further because we're recreating an actual movie shot. So I guess we're going to show the movie shot first, and then we're kind of going to go through the scanning process and then show how you can actually create an animation using Blender to take it a step further.
Maurika curated all of our movie clips that we considered for this stream. Do you want to tell us about it? It's like a late night show. You get to throw to the clip. Do you want to talk about the clip we're about to see?
Definitely. So the clip that you're about to see is featuring a brand of orange juice. So let's just say orange juice. And if you haven't seen Beetlejuice, it's a classic film. I know that the holiday just passed if you do celebrate, but still, we're in the spooky spirit. So we're going to get into this Beetlejuice clip in a second, and you're going to see some juice being poured into a cup, but a little bit different than normal. So let's check out the clip.
Oh, let's watch it one more time. Come on.
Yeah, that wasn't enough.
Ooh, look at that Hollywood magic. No way somebody could do that at home on their own computer.
But we're going to show you how, though.
We're going to do it.
Young Winona Ryder, fans of Stranger Things.
Well, so I'll admit, I have not seen Beetlejuice since I was a kid. I totally did not realize that's Winona Ryder there.
Yes.
Okay, so our first step is we've got our $1 million Hollywood prop. I forgot that it's empty now and almost just like threw it towards the ceiling. Okay, so our first step is 3D scanning. And Maurika, I'll rely on your 3D scanning expertise here.
All right, so I have my tools.
Let me know if the iPad is locked for you.
It's open.
Cool.
So I have the iPad open, and I think you're going to be able to see, well, you viewers are going to be able to see the iPad screen as I'm scanning. So basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to get as many shots of this orange juice carton as possible. And I'm trying to make sure that I really focus on all of the corners, all of the details, so that we can get a 3D scan that looks as close to the actual carton as possible. So right now I have my app open. I already have all of my settings selected. So I'm going to be using the auto function, which will just kind of grab the shots for me. All I have to do is move it around after I press the button. So let's get started. So as you're doing this with the iPad, you do want to try to make your shots as clean as possible, and also try to get like very smooth movements, as smooth as possible. I don't know how smooth it looks from your end, but I'm trying. Okay. And you can see how the light is kind of going off of the carton, so I'm trying to get that as well. I'm going to get the top of the carton also. Ooh. Maybe if you're doing it at home, you won't have as many cords and wires as I have. So since this carton has like the expiration date and everything, I'm going to try to get that and see if maybe it'll show up in the scan. And I talked about this last time, when we were doing 3D scanning of the sneaker, but when you're trying to get these shots, you do want to make sure that you're going all the way around the item, so like 360 degrees. Am I also going to try to get the bottom of this?
I don't think you... Here, let's look. I looked at the clip earlier. I don't think the bottom ever shows.
Okay, so I won't need that.
Which I imagine is part of how they did that effect.
Yeah, and I can't remember what year Beetlejuice came out in, but it looked pretty realistic to me with the...
Yeah, it might be 89-ish or something.
So we're trying to take this and put it in a modern context.
Yeah, I imagine that's early green screen stuff.
That's what I was thinking, because I mean, it definitely looked like somebody was holding it, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it's on like a door hinge sort of thing.
That would also make a lot of sense.
Which explains why they don't show the bottom, maybe.
So see, movie secrets. So the maximum amount of shots that I can get in the app is 250. I'm trying to get as close to that as possible. Right now I'm at 174. I'm definitely going to try to focus in on the text as well. And it'll be interesting to see how this comes together, considering the carton is very angular.
Yeah, it's angular, it's glossy. It has these like little pockets of where the light doesn't really get in very well. We might want to do 2 shots at it, one in auto mode and one in manual.
I also talked about last time how somebody with a photography background would probably really enjoy this and also have a lot of skills that would help with 3D scanning, because you do have to try to make sure that your lighting is adequate and you also want to have everything set up properly. Okay, so I have 250 shots, so I'm done. And now I actually need to send this in so that it can be rendered. So I'm going to choose my settings for that. Do we need to go through the options?
I don't think we need to go through all of them. Definitely check out our VOD last time if you have questions about Polycam, I'd say.
So
are you thinking of using object masking here?
I guess maybe we should, because we're trying to just get the carton itself.
It might make the black background kind of work for us a little bit if we use it.
Okay, and then I'm going to use full default?
Yeah, sure. I'd go full or medium. I don't think the raw is necessary.
Let's do full.
We're going to be doing some physics simulation, so we get a little paranoid about overly complicated surfaces. A lot of computing power.
So once you've selected your settings, you can go ahead and upload and it will start processing. And you actually don't even have to wait while this happens. You can go ahead and start another session of capturing shots. So I'll let it upload. And it should take no more than 10 minutes to give us our 3D model. So now it's processing and I can exit this screen. All right, so this time I will use the manual function.
I think that's smart.
All right, so since I'm doing it manually, that means that I am going to have to actually like decide when I want to take a shot. So let me try to get it in a good position. All right.
And you can probably see that we have a turntable beneath the orange juice. That would be more useful if we weren't filming, maybe. If we could put like a black drape around that table so that you're really blacking out the entire space around the carton. But that's hard to make very photogenic.
I'm really excited to see how the color comes up.
Same.
This is such a vibrant orange.
It's one of the things that really impresses me about Polycam is that it accounts for glare and different lighting really well, and you don't get like two different shades of orange on a surface like that.
Oh, I just realized I never said the name of the app. So it is called Polycam. And can they download this on their own?
It's a very affordable license cost. It's about $5 a month, $60 a year. But we have iPads that are already signed into that license. All you need to do is make a special request for us to make sure that you get one of those iPads. And if you talk about 3D scanning in that request, whether or not you know the name of the app, we'll definitely connect you with the right item.
And also, hopefully these videos are showing that you can literally 3D scan so many different things. So it doesn't have to be an actual object. You can even 3D scan whole rooms, right? Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to like 3D scan a space, you could definitely do that. Oh, I'm just seeing that there's like something underneath. I'll try to get that.
Yeah, maybe for a future one of these movie scenes, we'll do like a movie set at a university or something. We'll find a good space on campus here to scan.
That would be fun. So this is clearly going a lot slower than when it's on auto mode, just because I'm actually selecting when it takes the shot. Also trying to get my cord right.
I think that's one of the advantages. When you had to manage the cord earlier, it kept shuttering as the cord moved in front, whereas you can like pause and get yourself resituated here.
And I don't know if you all can even see like in the back, if you wanted to 3D scan your like body, you could do that. Mm-hmm. There are so many things you can do with this type of technology.
Yeah, we scanned one of the students who was helping us set up before this stream. Shout out to Arian. We scanned him as we were setting up. He's going to make a statue of himself, I think. So
Fun.
If you want like a bust of your own face on your desk, very easy to make.
And just remember where you can go for these resources too.
And right now we're across the hall from the VR studio here at Hill Library. And in there we have a lot of student expertise on pretty much all of the topics we'll be covering in today's stream. So if you see something that sparks an idea or a little bit of curiosity, we have really good spaces and faces to help you out.
And I think what's also cool is how you can kind of like move between the library spaces when doing something like this. So if you were to 3D scan and then maybe you wanted to turn this into a video, you could do that by going to the digital media lab. I think you could you 3D scan something and then possibly turn it into like a 3D print?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's very common. That's 5 or 6 years ago, that was a very bold project to try to set out on, but now it's pretty route. We'll have people in 1 hour scan something and print it.
And that's in the makerspace?
That is in the makerspace, yeah. Yeah.
All of this available in the library. And I will say, before I got here, I never imagined that a library would have these types of resources and technologies, but it's really amazing.
Yep. If you're intimidated by getting started in any of our spaces, we have a technology consultation link right on our website. We all have time built into our schedules to just sit down and talk about the ideas you have with you.
Okay, I'm getting close to 250.
And if you've got sufficient angles and you don't get to 250 photos, I think for something this size, it might be okay. I'm worried I just turned my chair and screwed that up, sorry.
A few more shots of the front. And this side. Okay, maybe, do you think 150 would be?
I think that'll do it probably. Yeah.
So let's just select full again and do object masking, upload and process.
Ooh, I wonder if our first one's already done.
I hope so. I'm excited to see it. All right, so now that's processing. Ooh.
Very encouraging.
That's
That's
pretty
awesome.
good. All right, so we're seeing our first 3D scan, and it did mask out most of the background.
Yeah, I did really well at it.
And this looks really close to the actual carton. So we can literally see all of the nutrition facts. Let's see. I can kind of see that little box that's underneath.
The
I
iconic
think
logo
this
of
looks
the Good and
good.
Gather brand that we all know and love.
Yes, affordable orange juice. That's what we're all about. And we can even see the expiration date and everything. All right.
You ought to hit it with a crop. And just crop that the turnstile out of it, or not turnstile, turntable. It's a little bit counterintuitive. I think you touch the bottom of the cube.
Okay. It's just moving.
Yeah, if you turn it a little, so like that bottom cube, the bottom of the cube is facing you. Yeah, now just tap the face of the bottom of the cube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
gotcha.
really counterintuitive. And then slide your finger up, down, I think, on the screen, and it will, yeah.
Okay.
And this lets you reposition, yeah, your camera so that you're in a spot where you can see it.
I have no idea if I'm doing this right.
Oh, you got it. And this is obviously something we could do in Blender, but it's just so easy to just export it like this. Might need to go a little higher. I think I see a little bit of mesh poking through. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Perfect. And if we really need to, we can seal that bottom in Blender. Just put a flat orange plane there or something. But
All right. And are we going to export this to...
yeah, you want to throw it in Drive? I can go grab it there.
So they make it really easy to share when you're done. Which format is it supposed to be in?
GLTF would be good.
Okay. All right, so just like that, should be in Drive. Do you see it?
Yeah, I just saw it pop up.
Our other scan is still processing, but that first one was pretty good, so pleased with it.
I'll rename this Orange Juice.
It's also flu season, so you know this is telling you something that you could use if you need it. If you're feeling a little tickle in your throat, get some orange juice.
There's a cup in that scene as well. Do you want to try scanning this cup while I start the Blender process? I don't really know how useful this will be since I don't think the transparency comes through in the scan. And while Maurika keeps scanning there, I will give you a little preview of what we're looking at here in Blender. So here's my favorite piece of software in the world, Blender. And you can see a fluid simulation that we'll use to simulate the orange juice pouring out of the container. I think in the original film, that's actual orange juice pouring out or something meant to look like orange juice that has been thickened with cornstarch or something to keep its color better. But here you can see a little preview of the kind of fluid sim we can do. And you can see the messiness of a not quite honed fluid sim yet, overflowing here like the nacho cheese machine is broken or something. But just a looping little fluid sim, and we're going to go through how we built that. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete everything in my scene, so that all that's in my scene right now is this camera. Then I'm going to, and that obviously that is going to look a lot like if you start a new file in Blender and just delete the default cube. For the basics of Blender, we have an awesome VOD walking through the famous donut tutorial with two of our really talented students taking you through that tutorial. I think it's the best way out there to learn Blender personally. So I'm going to start by selecting a different type of mesh. I could see the case for using like a sphere here, but I'm going to use a torus just because it kind of is shaped already like the opening of an orange juice container. Then I'm going to right click on that torus. I'm going to shade smooth. It's just going to make the particles be aligned in a way that helps us out a little bit. Not really that important in detail, to be honest. I'm going to hit F3, the function 3 button on my keyboard. And I'm going to type in quick liquid. All F3 is like a search bar of different effects in Blender. Really handy way to kind of have everything at your fingertips. I picked quick liquid there. So what that did is it has this quick liquid effect that's for either gaseous or liquid fluid sims, and has some presets that make them easier to use than they used to be in past versions of Blender. So now I'll direct your attention over to this physics tab. We're going to be living in this physics tab, basically. So in that physics tab, there's a setting on where all of our data will go as we run the simulations we're going to be running. Here I've already made a folder called Blender Data, so I'm just going to house it there in my file directory. And obviously, if you have a different file structure you use, more than welcome. Not the most important detail we'll hit on here. There is this type. This is like the cache type of the simulation. So I'm going to use something called modular. I believe modular means that every stage of the simulation is going to bake separately. I think we'll only do one stage today. So it actually might not make that big a difference, but it's just a better practice to kind of be in modular for that reason. And I'm going to check resumable. Later on, you would face, if you did not check resumable, it'll block you from doing one of the simulations later on and gives a very descriptive note on the fact that you don't have resumable checked, but doesn't really tell you where to find it. It's here under cache. So from there, I'm going to need to click our torus, and our type is a flow, but our flow type is liquid because we're describing a liquid. And this gives you a really good idea of the other things that can be particle simulated in Blender easily. You can do fire, smoke, liquid, or fire and smoke using the quick liquids, the quick fluids. Flow behavior is inflow, and we'll use flow. So now I'm going to go back. That's kind of our emitter. That is the faucet from which our liquid is coming. And this is the bounding box inside of which our fluid is allowed to move. So you can kind of think of this like a glass box. And I'm going to just scale the box a little bit. Move it. Okay. I'm eventually going to want the fluid to move from like left to right across my screen. That's why I've overly favored having the emitter so far to the extreme side of that box. With the box selected, I think our next step is to bake the data. Past versions called this bake the fluid, which I always thought sounded like very culinary. So what this is going to do is it's going to populate a number of particles that at frame 1 will all be contained along the mesh of the object that's emitting them. You can see they're very orderly there. This order is part of why we shaded smooth, so that they are less irregular than they would be with flat shading. So I'll play that, and we'll just see the actual particles that will eventually make up our liquid. So you can see they have a lot of forces that come out. They're like even elevating themselves up into the air via the force they're exerting on one another, which is a little extreme. So we don't really need that. We'd kind of like to see them cool a little bit. But we can deal with that as we go a little further along. So I'm going to pause there. For anyone less familiar with Blender, this is an animation timeline. You can see the frame that I start at. 1, people usually start at 1 or 0 for obvious reasons. We're running a 250 frame loop. We ultimately might not really need all 250 frames. It's like, I mean, how long is the clip? It's only 3 or 4 seconds. So even at, 30 frames per second, you're only really at 120 frames or something. So a bit of overkill, and for the sake of kind of showing where this is all going, I'm going to bake the mesh as well. So, fluids are made up of particles, but they have cohesion between them, and so there's, space filling between them. And so, this doesn't really act like a fluid, right? It acts like a bunch of about dust moving through a fan or something. We are going to now turn them into a fluid together. So here, I'm going to click this mesh checkbox. This is with the cube selected. That is when I've been confused by these things, and I'm not seeing the menus that I expect to see. It's because I have the emitter selected instead of the bounding box around the emitter. So you want the orange to be on the glass box around the emitter. Here I'm going to be able to click Bake Mesh. If this is not an active button for you, it's because of the thing I was talking about earlier. You need to check that box around the replays, the caching. So let's bake this mesh. We'll see that on our excellent NC State computers, this is a really fast process. It might not be on older computing, but obviously there is bleeding edge graphics computing available to every NC State staff and faculty here in our VR student, staff, and faculty. I missed the most important group there. Okay, let's see what our sim looks like now. You can see that bounding box is gone. That's because that bounding box was the mesh. We have wrapped the mesh, like we shrink wrapped it around the particles. So now we'll see as the mesh moves. Looking a lot more viscous, right?
Definitely.
You can see it's filling up that box. So if we want to do a square glass, we're really close to being able to do the effect we talked about there. So pretty cool. But it is not exactly the effect we want, because we are towards the end of the process. I'll show in a it's looking very fluid. We could do some texturing on this right now, obviously, and we will to make it orange, because as of right now, it's glass. I don't know why it defaults to glass. I guess it looks cool, but it looks very Terminator to me every time. Yeah. So we're going to backtrack a little bit. So we've obviously computed that data. So we're going to have to free the things that we've kind of locked in place. So we'll free the mesh, and you see the mesh goes back to its original shape, and then we'll also free the simulated data. So I'm going to go back to wireframe mode, and here's where we start moving our guy. So let's maybe, how do we want to do this? We want that box so that the torus is at the extreme top of it, in my opinion. And we also probably need to scale it so it's more rectangular. That might work. Let's start talking velocities. I was really bad at calculus. I was bad at calculus, I was bad at linear algebra, and now I work with 3D math all the time.
I somehow made it through calculus and I still don't know how. So viewers at home or in your dorm or wherever you are, let us know if you were good in calculus.
Mm-hmm. So we'll click this initial velocity box. So earlier we were like, it looked like the water was like dripping off of our torus, right? It didn't really look like it was pouring out of it. So we need to add velocity as we enter. So I'm going to start with a really low number. I think Blender's default number, I'm sure it's defaulted for something that makes sense because I'm only okay at Blender. But I think this number is really high. So I usually start with like around 0.1 or something. And then thank God for the gimbal because it really helps me know which way is which. So we will need, I think, a positive y vector so it kind of shoots out from left to right across the screen the way we're looking at it right now. So let's even just try, let's see what 1 meter per second looks like. The sampling substeps is important. That's basically the fidelity of the liquid. But for today's like teaching purposes, I don't care as much about like being able to see every little bit of drop. I want to be able to like render quickly. So that's kind of what I'm prioritizing. Here's our bounding box again. We won't put a collider in yet because like I know the obvious question is like, oh, you need it to pour into a glass. Where's the glass? We'll build the glass in just a second, but let's make sure that like the vector is the way we want it. So we're going to bake data again.
It's like it's preheating the oven.
Yeah. See, that was supposed to see the data. It might be obviously wrong already. It seems pretty wrong. That doesn't really seem like the function we want.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's like a waterfall almost.
Yeah, it's, I wonder why, maybe we're just not putting enough of that y vector in. So let's try running it with the y vector. Let's try like 10 meters per second. Maybe we'll just go a little too extreme, that's fine. And it's just like the beauty of having good equipment is that you can do a bunch of these renders quickly and not like have to go watch an episode of Seinfeld or something each time you're running one. Okay. I'm very encouraged by that.
Yeah.
It's still way too strong.
Boring.
That moment right there is great. Everything else is okay. Let's see what it looks like as mesh. Okay.
Okay. It's kind of like a water slide now.
Mm-hmm. My feeling, I'm going to free the mesh here because I think it's pretty clear this isn't our final. I feel like if we make the box way taller, it'll, I think the amount of like liquid is kind of set, like the number of particles. So here we will, I don't know what CFL number is. If you hover over things in Blender, it explains them.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that until about 2 years into working. Just in the help all the time typing things in. Okay, let's make this box like impossibly tall and go to wireframe mode so it's a little easier to work with. And then also box down like this. I'm not even going to mess with any of the settings, even though we probably do need to. But I just want to see controlling for things. Okay, let's see those particles. Where are my particles? Oh, I think I was trying to run the baked data that didn't match the environment anymore. No, not at all what happened.
It evaporated.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's like not dense enough anymore. Let's try going back to our old box to make sure I didn't break something separate. Okay, that's encouraging.
Are the controls the same as like similar apps where you do like control command Z to undo? Okay.
Yeah, and there's if you have a preferred the control Z pretty universal. If you and there's just like a billion hotkeys in Blender. Like people who are actually good at Blender are impossible to learn Blender from because they're just like F3. Yeah, Control Alt Shift D. Like
it's like a video game.
Yeah, the Blender hotkeys use like Alt and Shift in ways that I've never seen, just because they have so many hotkeys that they need to fit them in. There's a really cool feature that I wish every other piece of software had that Blender has, where you can map your own hotkeys for any function. So like on my home machine, which I've made this basically near my home machine, you can like, I have like Alt and every number pad does like the 9 things I do most often. And it's just really handy for me because like people use Blender in such different ways.
I love that you can personalize it.
Yeah, myself and other staff members, I think, when we're teaching people Blender, it's difficult to not teach them the hotkeys you use just because you use them. I don't know why that wasn't baked. Let's
That's the cup.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna switch to it and you can talk about why that didn't work.
So this is the cup that we attempted to scan, and as you can see, it's literally just, there's nothing there. Probably because the cup was clear, and I did use object masking, and I am assuming that it just masked out all of the curves of the cup and edges. So there is no cup, unfortunately.
We can build one in CG. I think I'm 3. And if you want to hit on the screen, right there. Yeah, show a face on screen at the same time. So I just went back and reran the particle sim. I don't really know. I moved the force back up to 1. And to answer my question earlier where I was critiquing the genius of the Blender devs, it's that we had a really small box earlier, and that's why 1 felt so forceful. With like this larger box, it seems like 1 is about right. So I'll play the particle sim. We're still getting like this lifting effect where just the sheer quantity of particles is like their force is starting to accumulate and lift each other off the ground a bit. But that actually might be kind of solvable by going to an earlier render loop, like, or a shorter loop. So there's 100 frames right there, and that feels very in control to me. And 100 frames at like a cinematic FPS from the 80s would be like 4 or 5 seconds of footage. So like that's about as long as that original clip is. That's pretty good. If you're watching this later, you absolutely can make yours better than that. Just pause the video. I'm sure you can mess with the physics a little bit. The one thing I was not seeing is we need to increase that y vector, I think. So let's move that to 10. Rebake, we'll free the data, we'll bake the data. If you're into fluid sims, you're going to do a lot of baking data. Like, it's the only way to see it, right? We're still running 250, so that's kind of inefficient. Change that. So if you're in cache, I'll do this to save us over 50% of our processing time. See that fluid sim.
Looks like the first part is pouring, but
That collision is pretty strong, huh?
mm-hmm.
Let's turn that, I think, halfway between those two numbers. And let's also, I know it just feels like we're going in circles here a little bit with moving this box around, but it is just kind of a guess and check sort of process. Free the data. That all looks good. I actually didn't need to click over here. Let's bake the data again. Let's see the particles. And we're dripping a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
10 seemed like the number, actually.
Yeah.
So some people are really big into like being hyper realistic with their fluid sims, and they'll actually like research either themselves or with numbers that are out there, the actual force that these things happen with. So Blender does kind of favor those people a little bit, which is good. Like just use the real world numbers. Like it's kind of smart. Like that's why meters per second they use there instead of some like different virtual volumetric indicator. I love that one of the most famous numbers in science there is the default, right? The force of gravity.
And I know those are like the defaults, but can you change that if you wanted to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so you can make animations you can run your animation on a different planet just by changing one number. Very cool. Again, kind of the effect that a fluid gets when it's not large, it's like interfering with its own aperture, or the aperture is interfering with the fluid. The glug, 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 glug sort of look.
Yeah, like maybe the little tab is still over the orange juice and it's not pouring out all at once.
Which, for that, it makes me want to tip the torus. So let's just try that. Actually, I wanted to mess with this again. Oh no, I have a feeling I know what's about to happen. Let's turn that number back down.
You can already see.
Yeah, we don't want them up there. It's hitting this wall or something, right? I think it's that when it's tipped, it comes out with functionally a lot more exit velocity. I think any amount of tip is pretty radical. Something, we'll play it. If I extend the box, it might be perfect.
I feel like if you learn anything from this video, it's how to bake data.
Yeah. Yes. People will call this physics realistic modeling sometimes, this kind of process. Put that at 0.5. Here's our data, bake our data. Might not need much in that y-axis anymore if we're tipping it a little to like physically give ourselves the y. That looks pretty good. Let's watch.
Okay, viewers, you remember that Beetlejuice clip? Does this look like the orange juice pouring?
Let's go back through a one now. Let's get our orange juice clip back up. Got like a react cam going here. We're reacting to Winona Ryder, Michael Keaton clips. Very timely. Okay.
Oh, see, I didn't remember that was Michael Keaton.
Yeah, it's kind of that. I feel like we're about to watch this pour a bunch of shots. It falls pretty straight down.
Mm-hmm.
If we hit our torus up like underneath the made, the word made there, like it might fall pretty realistically. What you totally can do, and we're about to talk about collisions, I don't think we're going to model the like levee shape or the aqueduct shape or whatever, like that like concave triangular shape. I don't really know what you would call that, like the two planes that you have in like a carton here. But you totally could force like that circular pour to go through something that would do that to it just through physics. It will take some guess and check because you have to avoid things going up to the top of the screen by colliding too hard. But it is totally, you can get this look. It's so interesting how you see the manual opacity change.
Yeah.
Like, is that them turning a light on against a green screen, or like
You can see the lights on the...
like look at around 32 fluid ounce. See how it almost looks like it's moving up towards a light bulb? Like, because my default, like when I looked at this the first time, I thought what they were doing is they have, you know, it's a compositor, right? Like you're compositing this shot that was isolated somewhere else against the Winona Ryder shot where you've left a bunch of space there. But like, if you look at the glass, you can see this light that's probably, you know, you can kind of imagine where that light is in the studio. And it's definitely the same light that's causing the glare around 32 fluid ounces there. And so I wonder if it's not, oh, that's them messing with opacity via compositing there on the way out. But look how different that looks as it disappears first when it comes in. When it comes in, it looks like it's in a dark room that's getting illuminated for a moment. It might just be really good compositing, I don't know. The glass tips too.
That's where I was saying it seemed like it was sitting on something or someone was holding it or something like that.
No, I'm with you. The holding is weird because we're getting all that glass reflection, so I don't think that they could have
Had there something like around it?
I do think there's a huge tell right here. Look at the green that snuck through.
Yeah, you can see that. Oh, wow.
Fluids don't lie. If they're thin enough, they'll catch all the light in the room, and then you would end up pixelating it if you digitally composited it, or chroma keyed it rather, which they weren't digitally chroma keying probably this, but yeah, it's interesting. And then as it pours and gets thicker, it won't let as much light through, so it doesn't lie, or it doesn't give away what you're doing. They also had the perfect amount of volume in there, so they could just pour it really hard. Because, yeah, pretty cool. Okay. I think we're still on 3, right? Yeah. Okay, let's watch that fluid sim again. I think we're there. That looks about right to me. I'll turn it into a mesh for us. But. I love that it's just orange because it's selected.
Mm-hmm. It already looks like the orange juice.
Yeah, it's just this one extra stream.
Yeah, why is that happening?
Because I used a torus, and the effect of a torus is not the inner ring of the torus, it's the volume of the torus. Okay. So it's the things at the bottom end of the tire dropping immediately. What's weird is that we weren't seeing it before. So I wonder if I turn the velocity up just a little, whether these will fly and join the rest of the fluid. It might be worth a shot to do, because it'll just bug us the whole time otherwise. So let's just go to 6, and we've got 5 as our fallback. Still a little. It's just a trickle though.
Yeah,
we might
it's
actually.
not as pronounced.
If you can believe it, I'm showing more restraint with these numbers than I do in my personal modeling. I'm a big fan of just throw it to 100 and see what happens.
I feel like that's the best way to really learn to where you want to be when you're playing around with numbers like this.
Yeah,
just go to the extreme.
Yeah, don't worry that you'll break it as much as get excited that you'll understand the way you broke it. That's pretty nice. Okay, so when we put a cup here, we'll use this rim of this will be one edge of the cup, and then we'll have it come into about here, hopefully. So let's start talking about how we do those physics. Yeah, we can bring the orange juice container in later. That's the last thing we'll want to do. Where did I forget that I have the box selected. It's just only at 0 that the box looks like a box. So now we'll need to add a mesh. I'm just going to tell everybody in the audience the cup is going to look terrible. I want to show the concept more than I want to do. Glass modeling is kind of its own topic.
And couldn't they get like an already made model of a cup if they wanted to from
Totally.
Sketchfab or something like that?
Yeah, so Sketchfab will be a little, you would want to check the box that you're looking for a Blender file.
Okay.
Because we need, like our orange juice container, if we wanted to, like if we had been able to scan this cup successfully, it's like a really good mesh, but it's not a good physics object because it has been baked. It has all these irregularities at like a microscopic level. Or microscopic doesn't really exist, but very, very fine zoomed level. 3D scanned objects are really problematic for physics. It's why games that use a lot of 3D scanned objects cheat the physics around all those objects usually. Because like this cylinder, you want the most simple angles possible for your fluid sims, just so like weird stuff doesn't start happening with them. So like I think this will probably demonstrate it kind of, because weird stuff's going to happen even with this very simple object. Okay, so we were messing with our quick physics properties earlier, and we are still in fluid. I always make the mistake of clicking collision here, and I spend like 5 minutes before I realize that it's a fluid collision. So you go fluid, and then whereas that was a flow earlier, right? We're flowing stuff through the torus. We're doing an effector, so it's something that affects the physics. and you need to give it surface thickness. So like, I don't know, 0.5, I just remember kind of being a good testing number here. But and sampling substeps can also increase the fidelity of your physics collisions. But let's just run it with this object in here and we'll kind of start seeing what the issues are. I already know there's one issue, but let's do that. We're gonna free our data, we're gonna bake our data, and we think I'm going left to right, so let's do that. And let's flow it around the cylinder. So we're definitely affecting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cylinders have a top and bottom. So I need to get rid of the top. So it becomes a bin instead of like an oil barrel. So to do that, I'll need to select the cylinder. I'm going to edit mode. It's amazing how little 3D modeling we've had to do in this stream so far, actually. But this is 3D modeling. I need to be in face select, which I'm already in, but it is not the default. The default is vertex select. So you need to go over here and do face select. There's a hotkey for this, but that's your problem. That's a common hotkey that people reassign. Let's look up through the bottom of this thing. I guess I could turn that around and delete this face and just, okay, I'll do it. I'll delete this face, delete faces, and now I'll go back to object mode and I will 180 degree turn this object, purely because I was kind of being lazy and take advantage of what I can take advantage of there. I'm gonna tip it just a little.
Is the face just like the side of whatever shape we're looking at? What exactly?
You know those kites that you like assembled as a kid, the really like cheap kites that the things like the PVC like clicks into it, and then you pull the Elmo cloth or whatever across the frame. I think they're like a really good analogy for how 3D models work. Like the little X-shaped PVC holders that the PVC pipe goes into, those are vertices. The PVC long rods are edges,
Okay.
and then the tarp that is like when it's in your hand, you can put it around like a toaster, and you can make the toaster look like Elmo, I guess theoretically. The image is independent of the shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the face in that analogy.
Oh, that is a good analogy.
I only understand things through analogies. Like, oh, it's kind of like a different thing. What are we doing here? Okay, so I'm selecting the mesh, I'm freeing the data, I'm baking the data. That's encouraging.
Ooh.
Oh, I want those extra frames now that we're confident it's working. And that's another trick you can do. You can like run shorter renders if you really only care about those first 15 frames. Like build out later and go to 1500 frames. Don't render the ocean over and over. You can see some of this velocity escaping there. Oh no, it's actually not. It's the stuff from earlier. But we do need to rebake.
Like the other one.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's that resume option. I never actually, the option I was talking about earlier, like don't miss this checkbox. Like let's say we had decided to go from 1,000 frames to like 1,100 frames.
Mm-hmm.
This lets us only bake frames 10,001 to 1,100 and not have to rebake it all. But we don't care because it's all pretty cheap for us. So. That's cool though. That's a really nice feature. I don't know if they used to have that.
Are they adding new features literally every day?
Open source development. There's like, this is a little long. So this was good until about 150. So we can go to there. Yeah, open source dev. There's like more Blender devs than there are any other company's devs because most of them are volunteers, honestly.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it means like, so I only download like the stable releases, but if you want, you can download a new version of Blender every day.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's make the cylinder a little taller. We're doing that through scale, not through edit. Oh, actually, you know what we can do instead, which will be cooler? We can make it a little taller, because it just is really short, but let's make sure, yeah, this is what I was afraid I had done. Gotta keep it in frame. We can animate it. We could, so make it at frame 1, so we get that tipping effect. We can let's lock location and rotation, and then at frame, let's say like 125-ish. I don't like ending animations at the end of the loop. It just like looks kind of janky sometimes. You want like a little stillness on each side. Actually, by that rule, I should also lock these here. And then around like 125, we done like a slight rotation. And a slight move. And now I lock them all. You can save a little processing power by not locking things that haven't changed, but again, we don't really care. And then at 149, we'll lock it again. Ooh, I'm excited for that. I've done very little fluid sim around moving objects. So we need to be in the physics tab. I'll free the data, I'll bake the data. Still running 250 in the, I can change that setting. Just so I don't confuse myself later, I'll rebake. I would not have rebaked there if baking took even 30 seconds, but, and we'll bake the mesh. Just treat ourselves to seeing the full thing. This is a little messy out, that dribble is looking a little weird, but. Do you mind if I jump to some shading?
Oh, of course.
Okay, let's do so I just added a shader. I'm using node shading. I did it by clicking shading. Mitchell and Jeff's tutorial on our VODs are really good in this section because they're both really good at texturing, much better than I am. So I'm gonna say glass here. Let's do a glass BSDF. This is what the liquid is shaded as glass right now, so you can get a good preview of it. It's just a reflection of the environment we have around us. We'll turn our alpha all the way up. And I don't know, we can do like a kind of a grayish thing, I guess. And then I'll connect that to surface.
Oh, wow. That was cool how it connects like that.
If you like nodes, Blender loves you. Blender is currently doing a project called the Node Everything project, so that all coding can be replaced eventually with these kinds of node connections.
That would be so helpful.
Yeah, I'm not particularly strong as like a scripter or anything, so I'm really excited about it. It makes things a lot easier for me. I think if we go to a cycles render, this will actually show transparent. We'll just take a minute. No, this is EV optimized, isn't it? Do you have a favorite color calculator?
No, definitely not. I probably should.
There's this site I've been playing around with lately, more just around clothing stuff more than anything, but like you can type the name, commonly used name of a color, and it tells you like the
that's so
closest
cool.
hex to it. So maybe they have like an orange juice.
Yeah, I literally just use Canva, so this is way better.
It's pretty good. There's an art school that has a color calculator I like even more because it gives you like the tetratic. It's very similar to that Canva color sampler where you can like upload the image and it tells you the colors in it. I just like the university's one a little bit better. Alt-Tab, by the way, if you're wondering how I'm doing that, it'll change your life. Wow, I was really... Oh, no, I wasn't. I wasn't even close. Hex here. Do that, and... Oh, no, we don't want glass. That doesn't look very good. What you want probably is like a principled VSDF. It's like the most basic kind of shader, like flat color shader you can use. Oh, yellow. I don't really agree with their call on that orange juice color.
Yeah, this kind of looks like lemonade.
That's a very forgiving version of what it looks like, yes.
Trying not to say what else it might look like.
We can put some subsurface color on it. Usually use a little lighter color on subsurface. It won't really matter much in EV render. But that's, for liquids, it's a good idea to use subsurface scattering. And then just a little bit to taste. A little bit of metallicness, I think, gives that like ooze feel that I think looks good on camera usually, and so it's what we're used to seeing. A little roughness makes it look delicious. That's basically like when they increase the contrast on food photography.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like interesting that they call it roughness, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, roughness is a really interesting concept in graphics. It's how you make metals look like metal a lot of the time. But it can be used for other things too. We can clear coat it just a little. Yeah, a little Sunny D-esque as I work on it too long, but that's fine. Let me just get one more look at this shader quick I wanted to throw. I think I actually want this to be a BSDF because all we care about is that it's transparent, right? So do the surface and the volume there. The base color doesn't matter because I'm going to turn this transmission way up. Yeah, let's do some live Googling. I don't know why that's not coming out. So I'm looking for.
I was actually going to ask earlier, is there a manual for Blender?
Docstopblender.org. Yeah, and it's very dense. The search bar is your friend in there. Why did I use the word transparent in here? Only pure white will make it transparent. IOR is the slider. So IOR set to 1, I guess. But this isn't the right shade anymore.
Is the background some sort of like what?
It's this, yeah. It's so we can. That's good. We can change that. So it's like think if you disconnect this node. Why is that still there? This is why I always type principal. Oh, there's not one for world. That makes sense. Okay. I don't know why that's all messed up. I'm gonna make myself focus on this because that'll drive me crazy if I. Okay. Oh, you can also see we've been looking at it from the side. If I was to do all this over, I would not have used a torus. I think it was a big mistake to use a torus. Because it's really interesting that it's giving us this shape, but like that's not the effect we're looking for. A sphere would have done it better, I think. So, live you learn. Let's figuring out this object shader is actually pretty essential, isn't it? Let's go back to our docs. So there's still a transparent shader, right?
So it just doesn't want to show us the juice going into the cup.
Exactly. Yeah.
Definitely see the movement.
Yeah, we got the fluid sim kind of how we want it. Let's get our orange juice in here so that we don't run out of time and not use that asset. So I'm gonna go back to the surface, the material mode, and let's get our animation timeline up here. And I think I already put this on this machine. Let's see. Orange juice.
I keep forgetting that those are the layers of the...
I didn't see it there. It was totally hiding from me. Yeah, that was the only thing that made me sure it was in the scene. What is that right there? Let's make sure the materials are coming through the way we want. It scared me there for a second. So this needs to be way bigger.
Yeah.
You can do that with the scaling tools, which come out from here. I forget that sometimes. I'm always just like, where are my tools? But you can also do it over here. Let's do our rotation first. Yes. Ish. It'll be easier when it's scaled. How many times bigger do you think it needs to be for like this circle there to be about the size of that circle there? 10, more like 10 or more like 100?
I would almost say closer to 100, but That might be too big.
It's gonna be pretty close.
Right.
I think it's closer than 10 would have been. It might actually be. It's obviously somewhere in the middle, but like. So let's try the exact middle then.
Yeah, that looks more realistic. It's like a little droplet of.
Still needs to be smaller, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's just barely coming out.
Yeah, that's closer. Definitely need to see that.
Yeah, They also have, they're doing themselves, well, sorry, I just forgot that they actually poured the orange juice. But if I was to do this for an actual recreation, I would obviously use this style carton because it gives you, you're doing yourself a little favor there by steering a little better.
Because since ours has the top, it's like, it's just different.
So it starts actually up at a pretty high angle. So it starts here, just about. And so like, I think you can start at negative frames. No, you can't. So this is a issue of, we should have scene blocked a little bit better. So like we can, let's do some animating. So we can lock location and rotation. Scale's not going to move, obviously. And then we can this is like kind of lazy keyframe animating, but for our purposes it'll work. Now, next time we were talking about doing a shot from Kill Bill, there will be a lot of this animating keyframing, I think.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that shot, that opening scene in a while, and I forgot that every seat on the plane has a spot for a katana. Like, that had to be a custom fab, like, prop. Like,
I love that movie.
it's definitely in the categories of movies I saw way younger than I should have seen it, probably.
Same. Even Beetlejuice, honestly. I don't remember what Beetlejuice is rated, but I also have not seen Beetlejuice in a long time.
It's weird. Like, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but now that I know Michael Keaton's like fuller career, it's so wild that they got him to do that.
Definitely.
The YouTube comments of the video that we've like been citing from that I clipped, it's all people saying, like, "Oh, Michael Keaton could just play Beetlejuice again now because it's so much makeup you wouldn't even know."
I'm surprised. Maybe they are doing a reboot because they've rebooted everything, or a sequel, or whatever they want to call it. Oh, I just realized they're showing you how to make a smoothie on the side.
Okay. Let's take a look at that.
All right.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So we're obviously running out of time here, but the next steps would definitely be working out a glass asset that we really like. I would definitely change from using a torus to using a sphere. If I was to, this would be, right now I would say if I was doing this for real, like somebody was paying me to do this shot, I would probably save this project and hit Control N and just start a new one, knowing what we know, all those numbers that we like did the guessing and checking around earlier. I think now you like can have a pretty good starting estimate. Or there's a sphere. I would go find a glass asset that I like in Sketchfab or something that has transparency built into it already.
Is there a way to 3D scan a glass without?
That's a little beyond my expertise. I've always struggled with glass surfaces.
Yeah.
When you're looking, because it's looking through, ambient air, glass, air, backdrop. Like that's a lot of refraction. But that's like you were saying earlier, like that's not a hard thing for photographers. Like photographers figure that out, and so. It's probably photogrammetry using like the techniques you would use to shoot glass through a camera usually, but that's more your ballpark. You're a better photographer than I am, so.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll have to try it.
Want to do a quick render here? Let's
Yes.
give ourselves a chance to get it rendered. So this is one of those hotkeys that I think is built on this machine. Yeah, Control-Alt-0. And here I'm just gonna. I like to position my camera by just like positioning it in viewport and then checking. That is pretty good. Just go with a render. Oh no! Every Blender user hates this shade of purple. It's getting mad at us for having no world material.
Okay. So what is it, just put that in?
Yeah, purple means you didn't tell me what to do from Blender, which is better than an error, right? Because like I might just not want to have a material in there or something, but so I'll let it run through just so we can see what the fluid sim looks like.
Is that the computer working?
Yeah, you can hear the fan. Maybe the microphones are even picking that up. Let's click the camera. Let's go here. Camera, background images.
Oh, we should have got something from the. Yeah. I did not know you could do that in the Windows media player.
Yeah, Windows loves building really useful tools and not giving any UI that would let you know that they're there. So.
Wow, that is so easy.
When I'm at hackathons or game jams, I'll open up certain Windows products and people will like grimace that I'm using them. It's just like, no, they're good. They just don't advertise themselves well.
They gotta let people know.
Yeah, we could use a movie clip as the background, but you need to like go take the orange juice out of the shot so that you could
put that in.
A little silly. Not silly, cool. I mean, being able to put your own like face into a movie is pretty cool. Like,
oh, that should be another live.
Or like advertising something like you've got a product to advertise and you superimpose it, you animate it correctly so that when like Indiana Jones finds the Lost Covenant, he opens it up, it's your product or something like that. That's totally doable in Blender.
That would be really cool.
It's the arc, not the, yeah. There we go. Okay, that's correct-ish. I don't know.
Is the opacity?
I think it's I think it shows it as having less opacity than it actually would, just so you can like superimpose it correctly. But I could be wrong about that.
So it's trying to help.
Yeah, I think so. We'll need to fix that shading issue, right? So where's my shade? Go to world. I don't even have an output. That's not good. World output. Add. That's not working. Let's
If you render your animation with the purple background, does it just stay like that when you're playing it? Okay, so it doesn't go away.
Yeah, and it's not even just the background. It like because the world shader projects like Blender does this cool thing where like the background you use in the world shader, it also like light probes it, so it'll like make an LUT or whatever out of it. I don't know what it's actually what it's doing. Don't at me. But it's basically probing it to make like a pseudo LUT, so you would have like lighting that's representative of the scene that you've used a photograph of.
Okay.
And that's actually what I'm kind of about to go do. So let's go Blender HDRI. There's this cool site called Polyhaven. Blender Cloud is good too. Browse HDRIs. You can do like indoor.
Oh, cool.
Low contrast. We kind of want like a dark, spooky kind of place.
Is this open source as well? Or?
Yeah, it's like a freemium.
Okay. Oh, look at all these patrons.
Yeah, but there's options there. I'm just going to grab something for the sake of grabbing it. But there's
Something scared.
oh, night. Here we go. I know it's an indoor shot, but we can use like a dark outdoor scene. It won't make that big a difference. Do that. And you see it's this weird file format, an EXR. It's like a heavily metadataed image in a specific aspect ratio. And then now we can just be lazy and use an image texture.
Oh, and then you just put the image in there. Okay.
Everything, like so much of the stuff I ship is with like HDRIs from Polyhaven. Like I'm bad about not always rigging my own lighting anymore. Whoa.
Now it reversed the purple?
Yeah, why is it so bright? Oh, remember when I was freaking out about the lighting earlier? And I just added an extra sun for no reason?
Oh, okay.
That's why you don't just like do random stuff. I'm gonna end that render. Render animation again. It's still doing that. That's a little weird. It's a cool effect.
Yeah, it's like a shadow behind the screen.
There's the chance that I am. My fear was that I was rendering in cycles instead. So I'm kind of curious what happens if we run an image render in Eevee, because a lot of this stuff, or in cycles, a lot of the stuff we've done today only works in Eevee.
Oh, really? So it wouldn't even show up in?
We'll see. I have no idea what it'll look like in cycles. But the fluid sims are like optimized for Eevee. Yeah, so there's something else going on here. It's this, you can see our particles act very differently when they're being cycle rendered. It has to do with like global illumination and how that works. Eevee like fakes its global illumination, whereas cycles like ray traces everything.
And in that website you showed, do they also have like animated backgrounds or? Just wondering.
No, that's a good question. I think you would want to shade with a non-animated background, and then like you can composite versus video, because it's just like you'll cost yourself a lot of processing time if you're actually like probing frame by frame for the lighting conditions. Versus there's like better ways to fake it a little. But I guess that's the thing people do. People do animated backgrounds and some cool tutorials here also. Well, I wanted to get a better looking render, but this, oh no, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I think we might even be a little bit over our time for today. I'm going to throw the camera in the room so I can make sure we don't have any questions in the chat. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's useful.
A bot.
Yeah, a bot. Maurika, I had fun making stuff from Beetlejuice today.
Me too.
I'm looking forward to the next one of these. Do you have anything people should know?
Yeah, definitely check out our last live stream. And in this one, if you have any suggestions or ideas as to like how we can maybe get our glass, or even like how we could potentially get that background in there, that would be cool if you want to drop it down in the chat. If you try this yourself, maybe you can share with us. Does the libraries have like a page where people could possibly tag them on Twitter or something?
Yeah, we are at NCSU Libraries, maybe, on all platforms. But we're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, obviously. And then we're all available via our inboxes as well. And we're happy to advertise things that you express you want shown off for you there as well.
Yeah, this was really fun. I'm excited to do the Kill Bill recreation as well. And then maybe next time we could also show like the full rendering of the orange juice carton.
For sure.
But I think it looks pretty good.
We should do we could do like some Christmassy stuff next time.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Kill Bill plus Christmas. Perfect combo.